You're listening to Stephen Michaels. This is the Raiders Daily Podcast.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the number one Raiders podcast you ever heard in the world. This is the Raiders Daily. My name is Stephen Michaels. The Las Vegas Raiders are coming off a huge victory against the Denver Broncos in a game the Raiders had to win, in my opinion, to save their season. They were coming off that terrible performance against Chicago. I don't know what that was. The players' heads obviously were not in that football game. And now they had to get it together. They had to put this Gruden circus behind them and play as a team, play for their interim head coach. As you know, most teams that have, that go through this, that have an interim head coach, they don't end up going anywhere. Nothing, they end up tanking or not winning many games at all. I can't even tell you the last team. I don't know if any team has ever made the playoffs with an interim head coach, like a real interim head coach. I don't know. But I don't have those kind of stats in front of me. I just don't remember the last time that happened, because usually when that happens, it happens later on in a season when a team is 0-8 or 2-10 or something like that. This, as you know, is a different situation. This is a special situation. John Gruden basically had to resign because, well, come on, we all know why. Because of his emails and because the NFL wanted to bury other stuff, so they targeted the Raiders, and it was a hit job. We all know that. Let's not pretend. We can't excuse what he said in the emails, but at the same time, come on. They did it because it's the Raiders. And it's Mark Davis, and they didn't want anything else out. That's why we'll never see what else is in those things. But guess what? It's time to move on, and that's what I've been trying to preach. Gruden is gone. He's never coming back. This team, it's still early on in the season. There would be no reason to give up on this year. There's no reason. They can do it without John Gruden, and I can argue that they could even be better without John Gruden, because now they can maybe play more of a modern style offense. Now there is no restrictions. As you know, John Gruden can be conservative in some points. With Greg Olsen and Derek Carr, they are more than capable of coming up with their own game plan on offense. Gruden's playbook is already baked into that system. So it's not like they're going to be missing his plays and things like that. It's already going to be there. They're going to be using most of those plays. They did against Denver. But as you could see, Derek Carr did a lot of things in that game that, I bet John Gruden wishes that Derek Carr did when John Gruden was the head coach. I liked a lot of things Derek Carr did in this game. He threw on the run a couple times. He was really playing a West Coast style offense. And he was great in this game against Denver, and he needed to be great against Denver. Derek Carr wants to be the leader of this franchise. He has to keep on winning. This team needs to keep on winning. He's going to have to put this team on his back, make the tough throws, throw in tight windows, maybe run for it on a first down every now and then. This guy's going to have to put in extra, a little bit extra, because this season was too young and too early just to say, screw it, Gruden's gone, the season's over, let's just tank it. And we're going to get a brand new head coach next season, which the Raiders, as you know, can pretty much, because they have this new beautiful stadium in Las Vegas, no taxes there. Mark Davis is going to be able to get any head coach he wants. He really is. He's going to be able to get any head. Come on, think about it. Any coach around is going to want to coach this team, the Las Vegas Raiders, and that stadium, no taxes, like I mentioned. It's going to be a very attractive job to a lot of people. But you know what? The players cannot be worrying about next year. Because right now, before this Denver game, the Raiders were 3-2. They are right up there. They are right up there. Then the Chargers lose. And then guess what? The Raiders have a chance to go to 4-2. All they have to do is to go into Mile High and get a victory. Something that Derek Carr hasn't been that great at doing in his career. I believe this is only his third victory. But the Raiders do just that. They go into Mile High and just demolish the Denver Broncos 34-24. And the reason why the Raiders won this game is pretty damn simple. Because Teddy Bridgewater, he threw for 334 yards. 334 yards. I mean, if you just look at the stats for this game, you would think it was a close game. But there's one number that you have to pay attention to that tells a story of this entire football game, and that number is 4. And that means 4 turnovers the Raiders created on defense. Something this Raiders defense had to start doing. They have yet to really start creating turnovers. And they did a good job of that against Denver, picking Teddy Bridgewater off 3 times. 3 interceptions for that guy. Plus the Raiders get a fumble. 3 interceptions, 1 fumble, and the Raiders demolish the Denver Broncos 34-24. And you know what? Denver scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. 1 was in garbage time. The score doesn't even reflect how much of a massacre this game was. The Raiders were in control pretty much the entire game. I know the Broncos try to make it a little bit interesting at the end with their onside kick and all that nonsense, but it was already over. The Raiders knew it was over. They just destroyed them. They played excellent football. They came together as a team and did what they had to do. They cannot be worrying about John Gruden anymore. He's never coming back. It's time to just rally around the coaches that are there. Rally around Rich. He's your new coach. All the players love this guy, right? 20 years the dude's been in the NFL as a special teams coach. He's finally getting an opportunity to be a head coach. It might only last this season. So let him win. Let him experience being a head coach with a great football team. Usually when someone has to take over as an interim head coach, they have a bad team. You know, it's kind of hard to rally around when you got a bunch of guys who aren't very good. This team had a winning record when their coach had to resign. But they needed a win. The only way they were going to get over this whole circus, come on, this thing is just a shit show. That's the only way you can really describe it. The only way they can get out of that is if they went into Mile High, an AFC West divisional game, and they beat the Denver Broncos. And they did exactly that. And they also, by the way, the Broncos proved me right. When they were 3-0, I said they were the most overrated 3-0 team that I have seen in a long, long time. Well, it looks like I was right because the Denver Broncos have lost, I think, their last 3 games. They just can't recover. And the Raiders, by the way, they were on a 2-game losing streak. Their head was not in the last game they played. They played against the Bears. That team was just, I don't know what the hell was happening there. I mean, it's unfortunate because the Raiders should have never lost that game against Chicago. If the Raiders played that game this week, the Raiders would have beat them by 17 points. I promise you. But there was just too much going on. You got to understand, during that game, those players thought perhaps right after the game, John Gruden might get fired. They knew it was coming. They knew some bad stuff was coming. They were already told. They already knew it. They just didn't know when. That's a lot to play with when your head coach is sitting up there and you have all this drama, all these people are on TV saying he should be fired, blah, 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 blah. That's a lot of stuff to go through. But they got through it, and they knew they had to beat Denver to get their season back on track. And that's exactly what they did as the Raiders move to 4-2. And by the way, the Buffalo Bills last night lost against the Tennessee Titans, which means every team in the AFC, they all the top teams besides one team, the Baltimore Ravens, have 2 losses. The Ravens have 1 loss. Who is that one loss against? That's right, your Las Vegas Raiders. So this, my friends, this team, they are in good shape right now. There is no doubt about it. The Raiders are in very, very good shape. They got to keep this going. They got to keep it going. Because, I mean, you can't ask for a better scenario right now. Usually when, like I said, usually when your coach gets fired, the season's over. Because the coach is, it's later on in the season. But the Raiders, they can rally around their coaches that they have. Greg Olsen calling plays, I think might be a good thing, guys. I mentioned this before. Gruden being gone might not be the worst thing in the world. We're seeing a lot more passes down the field. Derek Carr being more aggressive. When Derek Carr is more aggressive, he's better. He's not worried about John Gruden yelling at him constantly saying, you should check it down or blah, 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 blah. No, I don't want Derek Carr checking it down on 3rd and 10 and 3rd and 12. I want him to throw a bomb to Henry Ruggs. That's what I want him to do. That's when Derek Carr plays his best. When he takes chances. Are some of them going to come back and bite him in his ass? Of course. But when he's running around throwing the football around, that's when he looks his best. And he's with Greg Olsen, who he knows very well. It's not like this is a new guy that he's talking to in his headset. So that works out well. Gus Bradley is still doing what he did before. Nothing's really changed on that front. He's still calling the defense. And then you got Rich Biscotta, who's going to be, he's the head coach. And the players love this guy. He's a special teams coach too, and he's still going to be coaching special teams. So it's really going to be a group effort. This is something that really has never happened before in the NFL. Where a team really, you don't really have one guy. Before it was just really Gruden, right? Everyone just paid attention to Gruden. Now it's a collective effort. This whole team needs to come together. The staff, the coaches, and the players put up a game plan and all work off each other. And that's exactly what they did against Denver, and it paid off big time. And right now the Raiders sit at 4-2. The Bills, AFC West, right? First place. What are they? 4-2. AFC West, Chargers, they lost, by the way, on Sunday. They are 4-2, tied with the Raiders at 4-2. The Chiefs, by the way, 3-3. We'll get there soon. Then AFC North, that's where you got the Ravens at 5-1. Remember that one loss comes from the Raiders. And then the Bengals are 4-2. And then the AFC South, Titans 4-2. So the Raiders are pretty much tied with everyone in the NFL besides the Ravens, who only have one loss. Besides them, they're tied with everyone. They have the same record. They have the same record. So the Raiders go in to play the Broncos. Like I said, on paper, remember, coming into this game, there was a lot of doubts. Could the Raiders, with this Denver Broncos defense, remember, they have a really good defense, guys. At least it says so on a stat sheet, right? And that's why I never go off stats, by the way. I never really go off of them, base everything off of them. Because you never know what's going to happen on any given Sunday. And in this Sunday, last Sunday, Derek Carr showed, you can throw off the Denver Broncos. You can score points off the Denver Broncos. I know it doesn't say that on the stat sheet, but the Raiders put up 34 on them. Derek Carr threw for 341 yards with 2 touchdowns. The Raiders had good things going in this game. On the stat sheet, it looks like, almost like it was a equal game. Total yards, Raiders had 426. The Broncos had 421. Are there things the Raiders need to clean up on defense? Absolutely. But one thing you can't take away from them is this. First of all, Max Crosby was a beast in this game. An absolute game wrecker. And the Raiders created turnovers finally. They need to keep continuing to do that. They really do. The more they can create turnovers on defense, the more this team will win. That's exactly what they need to do. They need to figure out how to create these turnovers, get the ball in the offense in Derek Carr's hands, and let them do the rest. By the way, I was very happy to see Kenyon Drake. I mean, look at this guy. 2 touchdowns in this game, guys. I'm sorry, he had 1 touchdown. But he had, this guy was catching the ball, wheel routes. That's what you want out of Kenyon Drake. That's what you want out of him. This is why they paid him that money, to come in and do things like this. And they used them. He had the 2 catches, and, he was fantastic. I believe, no, actually, Kenyon Drake did have 2 touchdowns in this game. He had 1, I believe he had 1 passing and 1 rushing touchdown, I believe. So, yeah, 2 touchdowns for Kenyon Drake. So that is something I think, if I'm the Raiders, I want to build on that. Because Kenyon Drake, I know the Raiders paid him a lot of money. It was controversial. Should they pay a running back that much money? But this guy's really explosive in the pass game. And in the run game if you get him in space. And he showed that against the Broncos. So I hope they build off this and they continue to use him. And by the way, Henry Ruggs, this guy's very fast. The Denver defense did not know how to contain this guy. Their cornerbacks are lining up about 15 yards off the line because Henry Ruggs is so fast. And now think about it. If he just runs a simple go route, this guy's just blazing down the field. That is going to take away a defender right there and create a space in the flat. That's where guys like Bryan Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, they take advantage of that space there in the flat and they can get a big pass right there. It could be a simple, anything, in and out route, anything you want right there. The Raiders did a lot of that in this game. So kudos to Henry Ruggs. The guy had he had 3 catches for 97 yards and obviously that big touchdown there. Henry Ruggs, he does a lot that people don't notice. They don't notice. And what about Bryan Edwards? 2 catches, but 67 yards. Big plays. 51-yard catch. Darren Waller, 5 catches, 59 yards. Had 1 for 33 yards. Hunter Renfro's always clutch. Had a big pass for 25 yards. Derek Carr has plenty of weapons here. And the defense, like I said, it created turnovers. And what did they have to do most importantly in this game? I talked about it in the preview show. They had to stop the run. Because we seen the Bears and the Chargers. What did they do? They ran the football down the Raiders' throats. And they just gashed that Raiders defense. They had no answers at all to stop the run game. They stopped the run game pretty well in this game. They did a pretty good job. Now, Broncos still had over 100 yards rushing. But still, it's a lot better than, if you remember, Austin Eckler and the Chargers and that circus that happened. So the defense, and more importantly, this defense, every time someone had the ball, they're trying to punch the ball out every single play. Jonathan Abram is trying to rip the ball out of guys' hands. That's what they got to do every single play. Be aggressive. Go for the turnovers. And look, it pays off. It pays off in the end as the Raiders get 4 turnovers. And that's why the Raiders won. If those turnovers don't happen, we might be talking a different story today. But the Raiders create 4 turnovers on defense. The Raiders get the momentum. They needed this win badly. They needed this. And they got it. They not only beat the Denver Broncos, but they destroyed them. And they did it in Mile High, which is even better for this team. For this Las Vegas Raiders team. Now, coming up next is the Philadelphia Eagles. A team that's not that great. This is not a good team. By no stretch. This team's bad, the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a game the Raiders should win. They really should. The Eagles are coming off of a loss against the Buccaneers where they actually played decent, but it was a Thursday night game. Those games can all be a little wacky. But before that, they did beat the Panthers. But other than that, they got killed against the Chiefs. They got killed against the Cowboys. I think they lost their to the 49ers, I believe. And yeah, and I believe they've won their first game, but they're not very good. They're really not. They're just, pretty much all they do is Jalen Hurst runs the football a lot. That's all they really do. They're ranked 18th on offense. That's where they're ranked, by the way. They're not that great at all. If the Raiders defense can somehow contain Jalen Hurst and make sure this guy does not run all over the field and all that nonsense, if they can contain him and create some turnovers, this is going to be a bloodbath. The Raiders could go into Vegas, into their home stadium, and just destroy this team. I promise you this. They can annihilate them. But they got to get after Jalen Hurst. They have to. They have to make him feel uncomfortable. They have to. They have no choice. Because this guy likes to take off with his legs. He likes to do all of that kind of stuff. So if they can just get after him, a lot of QB hits. Max Crosby coming off the edge with Yannick Ngakoue on the other way. You got Quentin Jefferson. All of these guys stepping it up. I think it will be a long day for Philadelphia. I really, really do. I think it will be a very, very long day. Oh, one more thing. Just to go back to the Denver game real quick. We got to give a shout out to Brandon Facion. I don't even know how to say his name. But listen, this guy was a no-name, and the Raiders put him out there, and he played pretty damn good. My one concern about that secondary, though, is Amik Robertson. If you notice, the Denver Broncos, they were pretty much throwing whoever he was covering, and they were having success. They were scoring touchdowns off of Amik Robertson. So, the Raiders really, really need Mullins back. They really need him back because... wow. Amik Robertson is just not good. Or they got to get someone else and figure something out there because Amik Robertson, he's turning into a liability out there. Teams are now targeting whoever he is on. So that is not good. That is not good at all. And teams are scoring touchdowns, and you just can't have that. So he has to step up his play. He really does. Now, when we look forward to this Eagles game, let me explain something to you guys. Like I said, this is a 2-4 Eagles team. They're not that great. They're really not. They don't got a lot going for them at all. They really don't. Like I said, their offense is pretty much Jalen Hurst running the football. That's all they really do. And if you can contain that, stop him from running the ball and picking up first downs with his legs, and they do a lot of screens, a lot of that kind of stuff, small-time stuff. But he has a lot of yardage because a lot of his guys, he will throw a lot of deep passes if you give him time, especially if he escapes from the pocket. He's really good at doing that. He'll throw a bomb down the field. That's why guys like Max Crosby, Yannick Ngakoue, they have to get after him, they have to hit him early, and they have to sack him a lot. They got to make him feel uncomfortable, and if you can rattle this guy in his head, he will have a terrible game. He will just start playing awful. But you got to rattle him. You have no choice. You must rattle Jalen Hurst. Remember, the Eagles right now, their fans, they don't even know if they want to stick with this guy, Jalen Hurst, and they just drafted him. They're already looking for a replacement. So obviously things are not all rosy in Philly. Everyone knows that. Things aren't going too well for them right now. They're just not. Points against, by the way, they're 23rd out of 32, and points for, they're 20th out of 32. But, pretty much this is all you really need to know. Jalen Hurst right now, like I said, this guy, he does run the ball a lot. He has 300 yards on the season, on the season. He is leading, he is leading the Eagles in rushing yards, and he's the quarterback. So that tells you something. They have Miles Sanders, obviously, but Jalen Hurst is leading the Philadelphia Eagles in rushing. But you know what else Jalen Hurst does? Fumble. He has 4 fumbles on the season. 4. So that's something the Raiders are going to have to, when he's running, you want to hit that ball out of his hands. He's thrown 4 interceptions. He has 4 fumbles. And by the way, his quarterback rating right now as we stand is 37.1. So the Raiders can get after this guy. They can get after him. They can make him feel uncomfortable. And I believe, because their defense is not very good. Their third down percentage on their defense, I think, is like 30th in the NFL. They're not that great at stopping teams on third down. They're just not. So this is a game where I think the Raiders offense will be able to throw as long as the Raiders O-line holds up, and they held up pretty well against Denver. I mean, Von Miller did not wreck the game for the Raiders. This Denver Broncos defense, I was even nervous about it, going into the game, because they don't allow a lot of points usually. They really don't. But the Raiders, they managed just to do anything they wanted to do off them. So, to me, this Eagles game should be an easy win. And remember, there is no more Zach Hurts for the Eagles. They don't have much going on for them. They really don't. So the Raiders should be able, they're going to be at home. They're going to be in Vegas. The fans should be excited. I know the last time they played at home, it was like a dead crowd. That's because the whole Gruden thing was looming over them. Now that's over. They're coming off a big AFC West win. I mean, they're right there in first place. They're tied basically for first place. They got to take care of this game. This is a team they got to beat. This is a 2-4 team that is not very good at all on both sides of the ball. They're just not a great team. The Raiders need to go home in Vegas and take care of business. They can't play down to their level of competition like they like to do. They need to make another statement win and say this whole Gruden show is behind us and we're here to stay and we're here to win. And it starts this Sunday again by defeating the Philadelphia Eagles. Can Derek Carr and the Raiders do it? We will find out Sunday. All right, guys, that's it for me. My name is Stephen Michaels. This is the Raiders Daily.